everybody. Welcome to the Sideline Report. I'm Marvin Jackson, and joining us tonight are Lou Holder, Donna Hopkins, and for the first time, Marc Harrison, sports analyst, ex-coach, and he's done it all. But this guy knows a lot about sports, and we're going to get his opinion on a lot of things here tonight. But we're going to start out talking about the Washington football team and how they're doing so far this season. I mean, they're not too bad. I mean, it's the first game, they lose it, a close game, but then they come back and beat the New York Football Giants. And Donna, let's talk about this team and the progress that they've made so far.
Yeah, Marvin, that's a hiccup to get out of the gates, but they're 1-1 now. So the key thing is that I look at Heinicke, that the game that he played against the New York Giants, he was 34 for 46, 300 and some yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. But the thing that I like about him is that the poise that he showed after the interception, he came back to give the team an opportunity to drive down the field and score. 2 great passes that I saw with him is the 56-yarder to J.D. McKissick, and the one that, and right after that, the 19-yard touchdown strike to Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, I think he's coming along. I think he gives them a better opportunity. I told you from day one than Ryan Fitzpatrick, I thought. The offensive line, to me, is struggling right now. They've got the running game going in the second game a little bit, but it's the defense, to me, that I'm concerned about, because this was supposed to be the strength of this team. But to me, they struggled. John Allen said after that game is that they looked like they did in the first game, which was not good. And he said that, you know, they were lucky to come away with that win, and they've got to do a better job. So the defensive end, to me, is the concern, because we knew going in they were supposed to be good, but they were not. But overall, this team in general, when you look at the schedule on down the line, they've got to get much better when they are facing a Buffalo team in Buffalo this week.
Lou?
Yeah, I'm with Donna. I mean, where I differ is the defense is still the strength of this team, but the defense, it just isn't really that good right now. This whole franchise, the fan base, you know, some of us bought into the clippings and everything like that. This team was 7-9 last year and got into the playoffs with a defense that was feeding off a lot of backup quarterbacks before they got to Tom Brady in the playoffs. And, you know, Herbert and the quarterback for the Giants, I mean, that's the least of their worries. They got Aaron Rodgers on the schedule. They got Tom Brady on the schedule. They got Russell Wilson on the schedule. They got so many slingers on the schedule. They got Patrick Mahomes coming in here. I told you and Donna at the very beginning of the year that Ron Rivera has already done his job in so many ways of changing the culture of this team. The clear spotlight to me is on the coordinators of this team. And one of them is Jack Del Rio. I mean, obviously, Turner, me and Donna, we scratch our heads on the press box like, okay, the first game, how long was it going to take you to start throwing it to Terry McLaurin? I mean, we saw an Oakland Raiders team that just on the first week, actually the first 2 weeks, they just kept giving it to Waller. They know where their strengths were. And this is a franchise who has been under Joe Gibbs long enough to know that you need to be making adjustments in game. And I did not see that in the first game. I barely saw it in the second game. And I agree with Donna, the defense and the coordinators as a whole need to be more exotic with their play calling. They need to be able to, Taylor Heinicke is going to be able to mask a lot of wrongs with his athleticism. But at the end of the day, as long as this defense stays on the field way too long, their corners are going to get exposed. And, you know, their front guys are not getting to the quarterback as much as they would like. So Del Rio's going to have to make some in-game adjustments, because starting with Allen on this next opponent with Buffalo, these guys have stuff on tape about this defense, and they're going to go after some people.
All right. And Marc, what's your take on this team? I mean, where do you see them at this point and what they need to do to change things? Because I agree with Lou. They're going to have to get a better pass rush. And the defensive backs are out of place quite often, quite often. So what's your take on this team?
Well, first off, thanks for having me on. It's great to see you guys. Hey, Donna, good to see you again. Boy, good to see you again. But honestly, guys, let's just be real with it. In order for a team to be good, you got to have pieces. And you can't say that the Washington football team does not have the pieces to be a good team. Got a great head coach, Riverboat Ron. He knows how to put the team together. And obviously, they're off to a decent start. To agree with you guys, especially when Lou was talking about with that defense, the front four can only get home but so many times. So the coordinators are going to have to come with a little bit more exotic coverages to try to mask some things and try to trick some teams, especially going into with a quarterback like Josh Allen this weekend when we play Buffalo. They're going to have to make sure to disguise some things and try to confuse him with this slow start. You got to think his first game, Josh Allen only threw 1 touchdown against Pittsburgh in a loss. Last week, they got out to a fast start. He had 2 touchdowns in the first half. So therefore, he kind of took his foot off the gas. So we really don't know where Josh Allen is, but we know how he lit it up last year. So defense is going to have to get a little more exotic with some coverages and some smoke and mirrors to slow them down a little bit. But the great thing is they have an offense. They've got talent. I mean, this is the emergence of Terry McLaurin. I mean, he is a true Buckeye. He's really showing the NFL that he is a great player. So therefore, he's really going to get out there and be able to explain and show himself, show his worth of all the hype that's going on with him. And Heinicke is a guy, he doesn't have to win the game. He's not going to lose the game. He just needs to manage the ship and give the ball to Gibson, let Gibson make his plays, let McLaurin make his plays. And I think they could be in a good place. Again, it only took 7-9 to win the NFC East last year. And they look like they could be in a position to run for it again this year.
Hey, Lou, the guys seem to like Heinicke. They say he's got swag, he's cool. And talk about this situation. We got about a minute left in this segment. Talk about Heinicke and then talk a little bit about, the past, the history of Washington starting quarterbacks in the last few years.
That's more than we got time for in this
segment.
I know. You really want me to do it? You want me to do it? You want me to do it? You really want me to do it?
Those names.
That's all a whole show.
All right.
Break it down.
He asked for it. Since 2002, when I got here, Shane Matthews, Patrick Ramsey, Danny Werfel, Tim Hasselbeck, Mark Brunell, Jason Campbell, Donovan McNabb, Rex Grossman, John Beck, Robert Griffin III, Kirk Cousins, Colt McCoy, Alex Smith, Josh Johnson, Mark Sanchez, Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, Tyler Heinicke, Ryan Fitzpatrick. All those have been the starting quarterbacks since I got here in 2002. This franchise has not been able to get that position right until they do. They've had flashes of brilliance. Jason Campbell was serviceable. Rex Grossman got them to Mark Brunell got them to the playoffs. And again, I think that as soon as Chase Young took to Taylor Heinicke, the rest of the team did too with the Heinicke. Ever since then, right? But he's shown it. He's shown it. This guy, look, we all of us on this Zoom got into sports to cover stories. And the great thing about sports and the great thing is that even in some of those times we're sitting in the press boxes and we go through the malaise and all the boring bits, you got these awesome stories that come across. And as sportscasters covering this team and as a team that needs not so much a leader, but also someone who makes them confident that they can believe, right? If you can have both, that's great. But if you have somebody like that, man, you can go a long, long way. And we all see it. This guy is not the Aaron Rodgers or whatever like that, but he doesn't need to be. Mark just said it. He just needs to manage the ship and don't crash the car. And I'm telling you, he can do that. He can
Yeah.
do that. And that's gonna, if you have a person who's not gonna run the car off the road, the defense might get a pick here, a special teams might come in here or there. You just need a quarterback that's not going to embarrass themselves. And that's where we are. All those quarterbacks that I just mentioned, Heinicke has a chance to be that stabling force for a franchise that really needs it right now.
Mark, let's talk a little bit about this big game coming up for Washington. They've got to go up to Buffalo, and that's a tough game for them. Talk about that, Mark, and what do you think? You think Heinicke can hang in there in Buffalo?
Absolutely. I think that the Buffalo team is off to a slow start. And with the Bills with that slow start, it's a perfect striking time for the Washington football team to get out there and pull the upset. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are a Super Bowl contender, but the Washington football team is the reigning NFC champions. And again, confidence is contagious. And with the win last week against the Giants, and now going into these next few games, the confidence is growing. Like I said before, they have all the pieces to make a run. So if they can just put it all together, it's a team sport, and it's perfectly named as the Washington football team. And if they could have the team put it together and everybody do their job, just do your job. You don't have to do anything else with these great pieces that they have. I think they can go to Buffalo and pull upset.
Hey, Mark, look, I'm jumping on you right now. The Giants are the Giants. Buffalo is a totally different team than the New York Giants. And Buffalo got hit in the mouth to start the season by Pittsburgh. Let me just say this. Washington is not a Pittsburgh team. I'm not saying that Washington cannot go up there and be competitive or maybe walk away with a win, but it's going to be tough up in Buffalo, because when you look at Josh Allen, no, he hasn't gotten off to a great start yet, but he is Josh Allen, and he will be a Daniel Jones as far as moving all over the field. He can throw better than Daniel Jones, and he could definitely move better. So Washington's defense has not been able to handle a mobile quarterback like that. And let's not go to sleep on Buffalo's defense, which is pretty good. They're going to come after Taylor Heinicke, and he's going to have to be able to really get off to a quick start. They can't play catch-up ball with going up to Buffalo against that team. So can Washington beat them? Yes, but their defense has to play much better, and their offensive line has to play much better, and they've got to get a quick start. And they are not the New York Giants.
Here's the story on the team on the other side of New York, okay? We took care of this side of New York. The other side of New York, the key to this game coming up for the Washington football team is, how do you neutralize Stefon Diggs? That is going to be the key. We know it. Miami saw it straight up. Pittsburgh saw it straight up. Stefon Diggs, the former Terp, is a problem. Right. And if you take away that from Josh Allen, then we'll see what's going to happen. Right. Because that's his weapon. They know how to go. They find exotic ways to get Stefon Diggs open. And when he's not just open, he's just throwing it up. And these last two games have shown that is his security blanket, Stefon Diggs. Jack Del Rio, the corners, all of that is their number one responsibility, is to neutralize Stefon Diggs, because if he has a big day, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It is a wrap. They're on the road, and it's going to be a wrap.
But Lou, don't forget about Beasley, and let's not get about.
I'm not forgetting about all of them. I'm just saying that over the last 2 weeks, it is clear that Josh Allen's go-to receiver, just like we've been clamoring for McLaurin to get more touches, they're going to test the corners of Washington and that secondary with Stefon Diggs down your throat, right?
And the secondary for Washington.
If they were able to neutralize him, I'll take my chances of him going to Beasley and some others. But if Stefon Diggs gets open multiple times, it's going to be tough.
But look, the problem is, if you can get. Yeah, the Washington secondary has not played that great in the first two games. So like you said, that's scary when you think about Buffalo's receivers and Josh Allen and that secondary of Washington, especially what has happened to Fuller. He looked like he had struggled out of the gates.
Well, you got to remember, the way you neutralize offense is the front four getting home. And I'll tell you right now, Washington football team's front four can compare with anybody in the league. So if they can get home and force Josh Allen off of his spot, make him have to go to the shorter routes. That's where the Beasleys and all those folks get involved instead of the deep shots downfield. It's going to be a lot more difficult than people think. If I were a betting man, I would take Washington with the points. But I'm telling you, those front four, Sweat, Young, those guys are going to pinch, knock him off of his spot, and go to take advantage. Again, Josh Allen has started off on a slow. He's only thrown 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Took one on the chin against Pittsburgh that had a strong front four with Cameron Hayward and those guys. Okay.
But Washington, Mark, has not played. Their front four has not played like Pittsburgh's front four. I mean, they've struggled. Their front four.
Where's Payne? Where's Payne been, Donna? Donna, where's Payne been?
That I want to know. And not only that, where has the pass rush really been? I mean, I understand what you're saying, Mark, but I haven't seen that production out of the front four yet.
Right. And that's where you get when you have a defensive coordinator that's a linebacker like a Jack Del Rio. Watch the exotic blitzes, because you just said it too, Donna. If the front four is not doing their job is going to be to occupy the line to free up some exotic blitzes. And you'll see them coming from all over the place this week. And he has to knock. If Josh Allen is comfortable, you're going to be in trouble.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Donna. And thank you, Mark, for being with us. Marc Harrison.
Oh man, Tracy boy, and my girl.
I wonder if Mark can still run. I don't know.
Me and Marvin go way back. We go back like spinal cord.
He's in the book. Hey, is that 2 Bowie State Hall of Famers in here?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, there is. There's my Brutus right there.
That's right.
I got my Brutus behind me.
Yeah, I got to show mine next time. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us. We've had a lot of fun, and we'll see you next week on the Sideline Report.